Guatemala's most active volcano is rehearsing for something bigger. The footage is striking. Volcán de Fuego, the volcano of fire, one of Central America's most dangerous active volcanoes, has been in continuous Strombolian eruption since 2002. On June 2nd at 3:35 in the afternoon, INSIVUMEH issued a special bulletin. The bulletin did not announce a new eruption. It announced a change inside the volcano. It did not rule out what comes next. The volcano is producing 10 to 15 explosions per hour. Gas and ash columns are reaching 4,800 meters above sea level. Ballistic material is falling around the crater. Locomotive sounds are being heard in nearby communities. Thermal anomalies are persistent. Below the summit crater, INSIVUMEH has identified a new point of incandescence, glowing toward the Seca and Santa Teresa ravines. 2 activity episodes have been monitored, May 23rd to 26th, June 1st and 2nd. INSIVUMEH says the magma is rising and close to the surface. It is no longer routine activity. It is a build-up signature. This is the volcano that produced a paroxysm exactly 7 years ago today, June 3rd, 2018, and reshaped a piece of Escuintla Province. It is no longer reading from the script of routine Strombolian activity. But here is the detail that tells the real story. INSIVUMEH has been monitoring Volcán de Fuego daily since 2002. They have seismometers, thermal cameras, monitoring stations on 3 sides of the volcano. They have called every paroxysm, every short-lived pulse, every buildup. On June 2nd at 3:35 in the afternoon, they wrote a sentence in BEFGO that did not appear in the routine daily bulletin. Their words, a new lava flow, more explosions, or a paroxysm cannot be ruled out. The climbers booked to summit Acatenango tonight are watching the crater glow at the southern twin. The residents of San Juan, Alotenango, are listening to locomotive sounds across the valley. The hotel operators in Antigua are reading the morning bulletin before calling their guests. The INGUAT Tourism Authority is deciding which guided routes to keep open. The families along the Seca and Santa Teresa ravines are watching the new incandescent point glow below the crater. Exactly where, 7 years ago, the volcano sent something else down into the lowlands. They are all waiting for one thing: which way the volcano chooses next. For 24 years, Volcán de Fuego has been erupting on schedule. Explosions, lava flows, lahar ash columns, paroxysms every few years. The question now is whether June 2nd is part of the pattern or the beginning of something the pattern does not contain. This is how it happened. The first signs appeared late last month. On May 23rd, INSIVUMEH's seismic stations on the flanks of Volcán de Fuego began recording a different signal. More events linked to the movement of magma and gas inside the volcano. The pattern continued through May 24th, through May 25th, through May 26th. Then it stopped. For 5 days, the volcano held its breath. Specialists watched. The cameras kept rolling. The seismometers kept listening. On June 1st, the signal returned. By June 2nd, it was stronger. INSIVUMEH analysts crossed an internal threshold that triggers a special bulletin, the Bulletin Volcanologico Especial. 3:35 in the afternoon on June 2nd, they published BEFGO 025-2026. The bulletin described the surface activity: 10 to 15 explosions per hour, weak to moderate. Gas and ash columns reaching 4,800 meters above sea level. Ballistic blocks falling around the crater. Locomotive sounds in the communities downwind. Below the crater itself, glowing toward the Seca and Santa Teresa ravines, a new point of incandescence. INSIVUMEH did not say what was causing it. They did not need to. What was causing it was 3 things happening at the same time: magma rising, gas expanding, thermal anomalies persisting. Inside Volcán de Fuego right now, none of those 3 things is unusual on its own. Fuego is a Strombolian volcano. It explodes routinely. Most days it sends ash a few hundred meters above the crater and rumbles in the night. What is unusual is the combination: magma close to the surface, plus persistent thermal anomalies. Plus, a new incandescent point glowing toward the ravines means the system is no longer venting in the routine way. It is building. Paroxysm is the word INSIVUMEH used in the Bulletin, the word that distinguishes a routine Strombolian explosion from the type of event fuego, produced in June 2018. Here is what makes fuego's chemistry dangerous. The magma is andesite, not the runny Hawaiian basalt that fountains and pools, not the thick dacite that builds domes and waits to collapse. Andesite sits in between, mid-viscosity, gas-rich, capable of pouring as lava or shattering into ballistic blocks. Inside the magma column, the temperature is approximately 1,000 degrees Celsius, 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to ignite vegetation on contact, hot enough to vaporize moisture in soil. When magma rises faster than it can vent, the volcano stops behaving like a routine Strombolian eruption. It behaves like a chamber under pressure, looking for a way out. That is what the Seca and Santa Teresa ravines are watching for. To understand what is actually happening under the surface, look at where the magma is coming from. Volcán de Fuego sits on top of one of the most violent tectonic boundaries on Earth, where the Cocos Plate slides underneath the Caribbean Plate at roughly 7 centimeters per year. That subduction generates the melt that has fed the Central American volcanic arc for millions of years. Guatemala has 37 volcanoes, the most of any country in Central America. Fuego is the southern twin of Acatenango, 8 kilometers to the north. The two share a base. Fuego is the active one. Right now, the chamber underneath is filling faster than the routine Strombolian explosions can vent. INSIVUMEH says the magma is close to the surface. The chamber is breathing harder than it has in months. Here is what is not making most headlines. 7 years ago today, June 3, 2018, Volcán de Fuego produced a paroxysm at around noon local time. The ash column climbed more than 15 kilometers into the sky. Then it collapsed. Pyroclastic flow descended the Las Lajas ravine, overflowed its banks, and reached the villages of San Miguel Los Lotes and El Rodeo in Escuintla Province. The pyroclastic flow was moving faster than people could run. Many of those killed were found inside their homes. The official death toll was nearly 200. Some estimates placed it much higher. The eruption was the deadliest in Guatemala since the Santiaguito disaster of 1902. The houses in San Miguel Los Lotes were not rebuilt. They are still there, half buried in pyroclastic flow material 7 years later. The volcano that did that is the same volcano whose magma INSIVUMEH says is close to the surface this morning. 7 years to the day, and it is still not over. INSIVUMEH has not lowered the alert. They have not announced a return to baseline. They have not announced an end to the activity. The magma is still rising. The explosions are still continuing. The thermal anomalies are still persistent. The new incandescent focus is still glowing below the crater. The question now is not whether Fuego is more active than baseline. It is. The question is not whether INSIVUMEH is watching. They are. The question is whether the people who live downwind, downhill, and downstream of this volcano, the residents of Panimache, Morelia, Acatenango, and the villages along the Seca and Santa Teresa ravines, are paying attention to the same bulletin INSIVUMEH issued at 3:35 yesterday afternoon. The houses in San Miguel Los Lotes are still half buried in pyroclastic flow material 7 years later, as a warning. The magma is close to the surface. The ravines are warming again. The volcano is choosing between a whisper, a shout, and a scream. If this story is worth telling, subscribe. We cover more of these every week.